Hello, everyone, and welcome to 10 Autodesk Docs Tips and Tricks in 30 minutes. My name is Juliana, and I work here in MicroCAD at Marketing. And today's presenter is Julian Nino, our Applications Specialist. At today's webinar, we will explore Autodesk Docs and how to start creating projects right away. Also, we will explain how to navigate your account as well as your project. Throughout the webinar, you can ask a question at any given point on the left-hand corner. You can ask Julian to revisit a step or ask any questions. And in the upper left-hand corner, you will find links to our social media, website, and YouTube channel. Also, make sure to check the last one. We post all of our webinars there at the end, so you can share with colleagues or rewatch it on your own time. And without further ado, we'll pass it on to Julian. Hi, Juli.
Hi, Juliana. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Please just let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Alrighty. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to this Autodesk Docs 10 tips and tricks. And let's go ahead and start it right away. So one thing that you're going to notice when you start with Autodesk Docs is that probably we are going to have two different browsers, right? And in some cases, maybe you're going to find BIM 360 document management. And on the other one, maybe you're going to find Autodesk Docs. So what will be the tip or the trick right here? Mainly is going to understand the difference, right? And as well, which one should I use, right? So this is going to depend on your company, or as well, if you're working with another consultant, your client is the one that is setting up the project. In this case, what is going to be important for us to understand is that the platform is going to be just the same. The layout is going to be a little bit different. And you're going to notice most of the things that change are going to be the icons, right? So in the case of BIM 360, it's going to be kind of like that dark blue layout, right? While in the Autodesk Construction Cloud or in the docs, it's going to be kind of like that dark color or that light blue element. So let me go ahead and share with you right here some of the difference between those two platforms. So I'm going to go right here to the top left, and the main difference that you're going to notice are going to be the services, right? So on the services, you're going to find larger icons right here on BIM 360, and you can go and navigate from the inside of the project, from the inside your account, right? And as well, it's going to give you additional information. So you're going to notice that, well, this is a web browser, right? It's going to take some time to load, but this is going to be kind of like the basics from browser to browser. And obviously, the ones that we are looking at today is going to be that document management. And for BIM 360, the layout is going to be a slight different than the one from Docs or ACC. So let me go ahead and jump to Docs right here at the top left. Once again, the services are going to be a little bit different, right? But the layout is going to change just a little bit. On the project files right here, this example I'm showing just have a couple of more folders that you're going to look, but the main thing that you're going to notice is just a slight change on the browser. Which one should you use? Well, it depends on your company. If you was an earlier user of the collaboration tools and BIM 360, probably you still have some projects using this platform, right? But if you're new to Docs and you're new to the collaboration tools, probably you're going to start right away with ACC and Docs. So it is up to you and your company, and as well as your team members, on which one would you like to use. Now, both are doing the same features and are going to give us the same collaboration capabilities. Next thing that I always like to mention is saving bookmarks or saving favorites is going to be a light changing when it comes to using these platforms. So I'm going to show you kind of like the comparison of between both. So first we have kind of like BIM 360. Right now, the browser that I'm using on this quick sample is just simply Chrome. Right there, you can see where I hit on my screen, my bookmark is going to take me right away to my projects, right? So from my projects, I can quickly navigate to any specific project that I have. I can also be as precise as I need to be. If I want to make favorite of a specific file, a specific folder, I can do the same. And right here is going to be the same just for the ACC or the docs. Right there, you're going to notice how just with one click, I'm going to be able to quickly access that browser. Now you will say, well, which is the tip right here? This is just organization, right? But it's going to save you some time, right? Because at some point you might have a bunch of projects and you might need to change between different companies, and having that quick access is going to save you some clicks. And as well, you can see if you have the different set of browsers, probably at some point you are going to be confusing maybe the platform. So maybe you have a project that should be on Docs, right? But is located on BIM 360. So right there, just take your time, go ahead and hit your bookmarks tab or your favorites, save those locations, and definitely it's going to save you some time on a day to day.
Hey, Juli, sorry, we have a question. For those who don't know, you can extend the presentation screen so you can see it in a bigger picture. Go ahead.
Alrighty. Okay. Now, next tip is going to be communication. So right here, when it comes to using these products, either docs or document management, every time we are going to be working on that specific workflow, right? When it comes that, yes, you acquired the product, right? So you purchase the product, then you have your Autodesk ID. So it gets to a point where we need to make sure that we have that Autodesk ID, right? So we can receive that invite to our product. So most of our users sometimes struggle with that, telling us, hey, I just purchased Beam Collaborate, or I just have Autodesk Docs, but I cannot find it. And most of the time is making sure that we have the right permissions, that we have the correct license, right? So after that point, and if we have our Autodesk account, we can already go ahead and select, okay, I have the Beam 360 entitlement, right? And after that, if I sign in into Beam 360 or Docs, that is kind of like the area when I want to start talking with my account admin, right? Or I'm going to start talking with my project admin. And from right there, they are going to give me those permissions and roles and make sure that either I'm an account member and I'm going to have access to that specific project, right? Or a specific product. Right now, I know we are talking about docs, but at some point, you're going to use a combination of docs with your AutoCAD, with your Plan 3D, with your Revit, right? And we want to make sure that that setup of project is made correctly or is built up correctly for you and your company, and as well for the rest of your team. So the account administrator, we want to understand and we want to make sure that, yes, those are going to be the guys that are going to create or manage the projects. So if someone is telling me, hey, I send you an invite for a project, so that probably is going to be your account administrator, and that is going to be the one that manage everyone on that project, and as well is going to assign me some products. In some cases, that guy is going to be, or that lady is going to be the one that is going to tell me, hey, I invite you to the project, and as well, I assign you the license to use Docs or Beam Collaborate. So account administrator is going to be that first user that is going to give us access to the project. Then we have the project administrator. That one is going to be that user that creates the projects, that manage the project members, that is going to assign me permissions, because not all the data that I have available right there on Docs is going to be intended for me, right? Some of the folders maybe are for third-party consultants. Some of them are going to be for the owner of the company, right? So we want to make sure that that project administrator is going to give me the correct permission to the correct folder, and as well is going to be the user that manage the project settings. Something such as in which day everyone is going to be uploading files, right? Sharing files, right? Make sure that everything on those projects is working just fine, right? So if it's something is wrong with your account, you should check with your admin first. That is always going to be the first step. Check with your project admin, check with your account admin to make sure that you have the correct permissions, that you have access to the license, right? And if you are both the account admin, both the project administrator, make sure that you have access to your products, because sometimes that happens, right? Maybe we start assigning everyone else and we forget that we need to have a license assigned as well, and that we have and that we require to have those permissions to access those projects. Next thing that we are going to see is this frame right here. So we need to get familiar with the desktop connector. So basically the desktop connector is going to be this tool that is creating an image of all the files that we have right there on the cloud, right? On those browsers, and creating an image on your desktop computer, right? And basically with that image that we are creating, we are going to be able to see the same type of folders, right? From one location on our desktop to the location on the cloud, right? We are going to be able to see if some of our files are syncing, because remember, these products are based on a cloud, right? And they are based on a web browser. So in some cases, we might lose connection to the internet, right? Maybe we grab our laptops and have to move. We didn't give enough time to load up our files and sync. So right here, we can just go ahead to our desktop connector, do a quick check, make sure that our files are synced, right? And now with the new release of the desktop connector, for those companies that were used to have files on the Autodesk Drive, right? Right here, you're going to find just a single place where you can find all the access to your cloud folders, such as well those users that have Autodesk Fusion files. So from this location, you're going to be able to locate easily files on your desktop, right? Make sure that they are syncing right there to the cloud. And an additional feature is that you're not going to load up everything that you have on your cloud. You can pick and choose up to a number of projects you want to sync, similar to other cloud based products that allow you to sync specifically just what you need. So if you only need to check a couple of projects, you can go ahead and select those. And as well, if you're part of multiple companies, you can make sure of which company you want to go ahead and sync those elements. So get familiar with your desktop connector. It's going to be located right there at the bottom right of your Windows start bar, right? The icon should be this a gray D, right? And to access it, you can simply go ahead and click on top of it and take a quick look of all your files and folders. Make sure that they are synced and up to date. Now, I'm going to mention something related to sharing. So let me take you once again to our cloud project right here. So when it comes to sharing files, you're going to notice the following. So we are going to have our folders, right? And inside of our folders, we are going to find our files, right? So at any file, I'm going to be able to go ahead and click and open it. And it's going to take me right there to my viewer, right? So at some point, maybe I'm creating some markups, some annotations, and I need to share this file with another user. Now, the intended way is that all the users are going to have access to this project, right? And in that case, I can simply go to the top right, find those three dots. So on the top right, find those three dots, and I'm going to have the option to share. It's going to show me a dialog box. And from that dialog box, I'm going to be able to share with my project members, right? Change specific permissions. I'm going to be able to share it with anyone that has access to that link, or share it with another project. So this is kind of like the intended way on Docs. On Beam 360, let me take you right there. It's going to be kind of like that same navigation, right? And in this case, once again, we are going to go all the way to the top right, the three dots, share. The layout is going to be a little bit different. We can share by email or as well by the links. But something important that I would like to share with you. This sharing is going to apply first and only to the users that have access to those projects that we are creating. So if I go back right here, I can also do the sharing from this section, hit those three dots and look for share. So there you go, you can see what I'm trying to explain. And then same thing in Docs, I can make the sharing from right here, the three dots at the end. I'm going to be able to hit share. So as I mentioned, first is going to start with only access to the users that have access to, well, our Autodesk Docs, right? And it makes sense because we do not want to share all our project information with everyone, right? Now, a couple of things right here when it comes to sharing is on the BIM 360, we are going to be able to find right there on the project admin, on the service tabs, and on the advanced settings, a quick option that is going to allow me to share my documents publicly, right? So with that one, I'm going to be able to share a file with someone that doesn't have a license of Docs or a license of BIM 360 or BIM Collaborate, right? I can go ahead and share a public link that is going to expire after certain amount of days. I can go ahead and change that, right? And I'm going to give them basic permissions, such as to only view or download, right? But they are not going to have access to my whole and complete project folder. So that is something great that we can do. So once again, right here, this applies for BIM 360. You can go to your project admin, then services, advanced settings, right? And from advanced settings, you can go ahead and turn on the document publicity. On Docs, it's going to be a little bit different. On Docs, it's going to be located right here. So let me take you right there. It's going to be located right here at the top right. And it's going to be on settings and advanced settings. This is inside the Docs, right? So let me take you once again back to our presentation. And right there, we also are going to have those advanced settings. And right here, you can see it's going to give me as well additional permissions where I can go ahead and turn on that option to share with someone that is outside my company. This is going to save us some time, right? And we don't have to manually go and add every person that is going to be part of my project. And I do not need to ask them to get licenses for this product, right? So I can just simply go ahead and share my files. Now, when it comes to opening files, we are going to find a great option right here. So we can open up files from our AutoCAD or from our Revit. And when you launch that home screen, you're going to find this section right here where it says Autodesk Docs. So what is recommended or what is intended is that you avoid going to your desktop connector, or you avoid to go and download every time the file. So you can find your files from this location. And as well, I recommend to look for that option right there with the sync icon. And with the sync icon, you're always going to have the latest versions of your files. From your Revit, you're going to be able to find it right there at the left side as well. And look for that sync icon as well. With those two, you're always going to make sure that you have the latest versions, and always double check your time, right? The timestamps for your files. So that way you're going to avoid opening older versions or overwriting any other versions from your team members. Now, when it comes to the tips, if you're using AutoCAD and or Civil 3D, you want to open your document, right? And if you find that icon that looks like a lock, it's probably that the file is opened by someone else, so it has its lock. So what you might do, what you like to do is talk to that other user, let them know, hey, I might need to use this icon or this file. Please go ahead and save it so I can open it. Otherwise, you can always open it as a read-only file, right? When it comes to your Revit, basically right here we have a couple of options. Revit is intended for light collaboration with multiple users. Everyone is going to have their own uh, local model. So what you can do right there is make sure that you can open your work sets, make sure that you disregard some of those notifications when it comes for work sets, or you can go ahead and open and audit your model. Make sure that you don't have any issues. When it comes to Navisworks, Navis has this additional icon when you install it that is going to have the suffix BIM 360, which is going to allow us to have access to all those files that we have uploaded to the platform, right? So if we have a project that has a Navis model, make sure that you open up the icon that says BIM 360, and from right there, we are going to be able to load up those files in the cloud. Now, this is something that is going to be important. So when it comes to using this platform, in addition to all the softwares that we need to learn, there is going to be a lot of information. We need to remember a lot, and we might need some help. For both platforms, on the top right, you're going to be able to find next to your name. So in the case of BIM 360, you can go ahead and hit that question mark, and it's going to take us to the document management help. So right there, when we click, it's going to take us to a web browser that is going to give us all the additional information for any of the tools that we need to use right here when it comes to BIM 360. So if I'm having troubles with permissions, I can go ahead and click that help button, right? Go and look ahead on administration or project management and look for permissions. In that way, I'm going to make sure that, hey, I am understanding what is going on with the permissions, and I'm going to be able to apply it. Now, for docs, you're going to be able to find the same right there at the top right is going to appear that question mark. In this case, it's not going to say docs help. It's simply going to be help. Once we launch it, it's going to take us to another website. It's going to apply just the same. From right here, I can go ahead and double check any of the features that I need to do for markups, for files, for reviews, administration, anything that I need. And what is great about these two help menus is that some of the commands are going to have short videos with all the instructions that I need to know to understand how am I using my platform, right? And it's going to give me as well some nice direction if I'm not comprehending any of the features that I have on these both platforms. Then right here, user access and permissions. This one, it seems to be kind of like the part where most of the users struggle, and is to understand, okay, we have a tab for project members. So on BIM 360, we are going to find that we need to assign the products to our members. So either you're going to be an admin or you are going to be a user. So from right here is where we are going to start to understand that, okay, I invite my user, but is my user having the correct access to the correct products? So right there on the top right, you're going to be able to find the icons for document management. Now, when it comes to the permissions on each project files, you can change the permission level for each user, right? And make sure that each user is going to have either only basic controls, only to view, then permissions to create or edit, or full controls. When it comes to the docs option, right there is going to be a little bit more personal because you want to make sure that you assign each one of the products, right? And as well as specific access level. So either project administrator or project admin. And from right here as well, you're going to find additional options when it comes to understanding which permission type you're going to assign to each user. Now, right here, just to recap, the only additional thing that we are going to find on Docs, which is something that I really like and is pretty cool, is that from Docs, I'm also going to be able to see if my user has the correct license assigned, right? So if I'm on Docs and I don't have a license for either Autodesk Docs or a license for Beam Collaborate, from this platform, I can assign a license to the user as long as I as well a member of my account on Autodesk, where I can assign and remove licenses. So that is a nice way that is included on this platform. So I can make sure that everyone has the correct access and everyone has the correct permissions to my folder. So always double check right there on the project members tab that your user is correctly assigned and that your user has the correct permissions. Now, if one of your users is having trouble and is having issues trying to access the files, you can always remove your user, add it once again. That seems to be kind of like a quick troubleshoot to to double check that your team members having correct and nice access to your projects. Now, measurements and markups. So I'm going to take you once again right here to our cloud, and I'm going to open up a quick project right here so you can see it on the viewer. On the right side, I'm going to take my docs, and on my left side, I'm going to take my Beam 360. So you're going to notice I'm going to open up the same platform, right? The same file. So left side Beam 360, right side docs. You're going to notice a slight difference on the icons when it comes to markups, but it's going to be pretty cool about the docs version is that I kind of have like a mini map. So if I zoom in into any location, it's going to give me a highlight, while in Beam 360, the mini map is going to activate as I start moving. So it is the same, right? So don't worry if you do not see the mini map. Now, on Beam 360, I'm going to have kind of like this dock that is going to move and hide, right? That I can manually hide, right? And right here on docs is going to be just the same. So it's just automatically hide from the start. Now, when it comes to the icons, you're going to notice that when it comes to navigation, they are going to be really similar one to each other, right? We don't have like major changes. As well, if we have multiple files open from a specific folder, or if we have the same type of files from that folder, I'm going to be able to navigate between these two different elements. So right here, you can see that now I'm on the ref file as well as I'm right here. Now, something additional that is worth mentioning when it comes to the markups, on both platforms, you're going to have kind of like that freehand, any text, any dimension, right? But what is going to be important on both is that any markup that I create, first and foremost, is going to be only for me. So notice right here on Beam 360, I need to click on that markup, and right there on the top left or at the middle of your screen, I need to make sure that that markup is going to be available for my teammates, right? So if I'm making markups and then I'm telling them, hey, I just shared you a link, please take a look of these markups, and they are going to tell me, hey, I can't see anything. I need to make sure that I publish those elements. So once they are published, you can save the markup. Same deal right here on Docs. You can select it, and right there on the top right, hit the publish option. So on Docs, it's going to make a slight change of color, and that is going to be kind of like an additional visual aid that you can use. But on both, it's going to work like that. Later, if you want to reference your markups, you can go right there on your tab and just take a look. Okay, so Julian published that markup, right? He wants me to take care of something right there on that location, right? And I could potentially add any additional attachment, maybe a quick photograph, an spec sheet, or anything that I want to reference, right, to that markup. And now, when it comes to measurements, so we are going to have a couple of options when it comes to measurements. Right here is going to be quite simple, quite straightforward because we are on a 2D plan. But right there, you can notice how I can start using the measurements for anything that I want to uh, display right there on my markups, right? Same deal is going to apply right here. And notice how in the case of BIM 360 is going to ask me for calibration. Sometimes Docs is going to be a little bit more advanced because it's going to recognize right away the size of the sheet that I am uploading. So in some cases, I want to calibrate my measurement first right there. So in this case, I want to make sure, okay, so the size of that unit, maybe let's say that that is going to be 10 feet, why not? I can calibrate it, or I can always go back and forward and change the calibration for my drawing. So that is going to be important when you're doing your measurements. Now, one last tip that I have right here when it comes to doing measurements on your projects. So right now we have this 2D viewer, right? The 2D viewer is quite straightforward. But what will happen if I'm working on a file on the 3D viewer and I want to make or take a quick measurement? So let me take you right here to this 3D viewer of a Revit model. Right here, the measurements could be a little bit tricky because the measurements are going to snap to specific points of my drawing. So if I want to make sure that I'm doing the correct snap on a 3D view or on a 3D model, what I do recommend is make use of your view cube. So always take a quick look of your view cube so you can quickly reorientate your view on your project, right? So from any view cube, you're going to be able to make those adjustments. So maybe later I can go to a top view, and from right there, I can make sure that I have those adjustments. You can rotate your view cube, right? To make a quick measurement of your project. And you can do the navigation right there using your view cube, make those specific adjustments, right? Because sometimes what happens is if we are on first person, you're going to notice that the navigation is going to be a little bit different because I need to make sure that I'm correctly positioned in my project, and the measurement cannot be that precise. So right there, always look for those snaps to make sure that the measurement that you're taking is correct. And as well, you can continue your navigation. Just make sure that you are on the correct view, you are on the correct position to do those quick measurements and dimensions of your project. So just have that in mind when you're working on your markups and on your measurements. Now, last tip right here. When you have multiple projects, when you have both platforms, you're going to find a really nice place where you can go to unify projects. So let me show you right here on BIM 360. So let's start from right there. If I go to my account, right? In the case that I'm the account admin, we are going to be able to see all the projects that I have available. So notice right here on BIM 360, they are going to be all my projects. And in addition to that, I'm going to find an icon that is going to tell me, okay, if you can see the B, that stands for BIM 360 project. If you find the world that is an ACC, Autodesk Construction Cloud project, probably is going to take me to Docs. So if I want to keep it simple, keep it organized, remember, I can always go ahead and hit Unified Projects. And in this case, it's going to take me to the Autodesk Construction Cloud. And it's not only going to bring the BIM 360 projects, it's not only going to bring the Autodesk projects, the Autodesk Docs projects, but what it's going to do for me is just give me the whole list of projects. Something else that I want to mention is not only going to apply for Docs, is not only going to apply for BIM 360. Remember, the construction cloud is going to be pretty big. And in some cases, we are going to find, let me show it to you right here, products for Autodesk Build, right? Maybe I'm going to be able to find those projects from Autodesk Takeoff, right? So everything is going to be unified on that same platform under the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So Autodesk Construction Cloud products is going to have a quick access to everything that we have right there. Even if we work more in construction than in design, maybe you have access to that plan grid application. You're all are going to be able to find any additional documents for those type of products. So you can see right here on the Autodesk Construction Cloud, we have a bunch of products that we are going to have able in our account, and as well, our projects are going to be placed on those locations. Now, let me go right here once again to the ACC so you can see all the products that I have. And right there on my project list, you are going to be able to find as well the icons, right? To which platform the project belongs. And notice how right here, if you have more Autodesk products, such as Plan Grid, Building Connected, Trade Tab, right? If I had access to Build as well, it's going to be included inside this platform. If I have access to a takeoff project, it's going to be inside this platform. So if you're making the transition from BIM 360 to the ACC and to the Docs, just get familiar with this platform, right? It's going to give you great advantage for all those type of projects that you have today. And navigating them is going to be quite simple. So you can go and have access to your account admin, right? And always you can navigate quickly to your projects. Now, something additional that I like to mention, and what is going to be great about the project list that we have right here on the unified products is if you start numbering your projects when you create them, this is going to have an alphanumerical option that is going to automatically update and filter your projects. So if in your company, your standard is to go ahead and create numbers for the year, for the contract number. So if you start making those numbers, it's going to give you as well quick access and quick navigation to any of your projects. So just have that in mind. Remember, unified projects or unified products as well is going to give us a quick advantage to navigating and managing our projects.
Hey, Julie,
So
we have a question.
yes.
Okay, so it says, I have read that Autodesk will be discontinuing BIM 360 in the future. Is this true? If so, will legacy BIM 360 projects be merged into ACC?
So it's probable what you're mentioning is true. At some point, you have noticed that Autodesk make those transitions and as well change some names. So right now, what is happening, and kind of like with the last tip that I mentioned right there, is still going to show those legacy BIM 360 projects, right? At this point, they are not merged. They live under the same environment, right? But what is going to happen at some point, probably they are going to give you a notice or a notification, right? Where they are going to tell you, hey, if are you still using this BIM 360 project, you can archive it. Or as you might know, right now included with Docs, there's this tool that is named Bridge, where you can potentially start moving files from one project to another. So it's possible that they start making that change. So you are going to be able to move your BIM 360 files to the Docs or ACC category. We still don't have enough information to know if they are going to be completely merging the two platforms. And as you can see right now, The thing is that they use kind of like a different environment, right? A different engine. And that is why they are separated at this point. So at some point, we will let you know if this merge is going to be seamless or if we need to add additional steps. What is great about the Autodesk products, if they are going to discontinue any product, right? They always come with a knowledge network article that is going to give us additional information to make sure how to make those transitions on our products and our projects. So at least we are going to have some notice before they make that change.
Thank you, Juli. Okay, and we have another question. How do we share documents slash files?
Alrighty, let me go back right here to our platform. So sharing, as I mentioned, and this is going to depend on our project. So let me once again go right here to document management. So the sharing is going to happen from the document management tab or product, right? So let me take you right here to document management for on BIM 360. Remember, we can open up the viewer on the top right, find the sharing option, or you can always look for the three dots right here. You can also check mark. In this case, I really struggle remembering the icons, but you can hover your mouse and it's going to tell you what that specific icon does. But right there, just find the share tool. Right there, you can input the email. So notice how right here, always is going to give us first the access to the project members. Then with the link, I can simply copy that link, paste it on an email, send it as a message on Teams, send it as a message on a cell phone, right? You can share your files from your cell phone, right? As long as you have internet connection, you're going to be able to access it. Now on Docs, going to be just the same. Go ahead and select the file. Notice how right here is going to appear the three dots. On the three dots, look for the share. You can find it right here as well at the right side. And when sharing, just double check the same. You can use a link. You can find your members, or you can go to the link, copy it, and share it using your Teams, using your email. Any option is available. Now remember, for both tools, we have the option to share with exterior people. So right here, just make sure that you give them enough time to check the files. So I can go from 30 days up to a year, I think, yeah, up to a year. So they can have access to that specific file. Right here on BIM 360 is going to be on project admin, is going to be on advanced settings. And from advanced settings, right, once again, make sure that you turn off the sharing and change the expiration date.
We have another question. It says, is it possible to share the entire project files folder?
Alrighty, let's go right here to document management and let's go right here to docs. So right here, project files, the three dots. In this case, you have the option to share. But what I do recommend is if you're, for example, sharing your whole set of files to someone else to archive it, right? You can potentially as well select the transmittal option, but yes, you can share the whole project folders file. Now, if you want to save the complete information that is included on that project files folder, what I will recommend is create a transmittal. So this is BIM 360. And right here on Docs, same deal, three dots. Right here, create transmittal, right? It will be kind of like the intended option right here for our Docs. On Docs, you can see, well, it's not going to kind of give me like the whole sharing option because at that point I already give permission to my users. So this is kind of like more intended on a subfolder based level. So right there, I can go ahead and hit share or create a transmittal. So that way my user is going to have access to the whole list of files and folders.
Thank you, Juli. Next question is, what's the difference between Autodesk Docs and document management?
Alrighty, so as it is right now, and probably you just saw it, the main difference is going to be the browser, right? The browser and the engine is just different, right? It has a different way to navigate it. The layout is just a little bit different, right? But the intent behind both docs and document management is sharing, uploading your files, and the original idea was behind Autodesk products, right? So if we have an AutoCAD file, if we have a civil file, if we have a Revit file, the intended way was to collaborate, right? Nowadays, you can see that we can upload a file from Office documents, right? We can upload files such as videos, such as audios, because the collaboration nowadays, it is intended to share all the data with users across different locations, different time zones. But to answer once again your question, the main difference is going to be the browser looks different. It does the same with different bottoms, different positions.
Thank you, Juli. And I think that was the last question. And as a friendly reminder, if you want to learn these topics in detail, you can always take a custom training with Julian or someone else on our team. We also offer group classes online. Here are our contact numbers. Please feel free to call us if you have any questions. Also be sure to be checking the MicroCAD website for future webinars. We have coming up next real-time rendering with Revit and Enscape on February 23 at 1 p.m. So yeah, I think that concludes our webinar today. Thank you, Julian, for that wonderful presentation. And thank you everyone for attending. Have a great week. Bye-bye.